Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing. Hi, I'm BK, and as usual, on the other end, we have Dr. Wayne. Hi, Dr. Wayne.
Hi, BK. Hi, everyone. I'm really looking forward to today's podcast.
So, I was just looking at the show notes this morning, and it kind of reminded me of a pretty interesting movie that I'm not sure whether you have seen it. It's called Frequency. Have you seen that show, Dr. Wayne?
No, I haven't actually. No.
It's about a father and son that were able to communicate with each other across time and space because they had this old radio, and they tried to they tried to save some of their loved ones through that device. Somehow, in a certain time and space, they were able to communicate across that using that particular radio frequency. And because, today we're going to talk about how understanding frequencies and vibration can truly propel us to greater success in our business, right, Dr. Wayne?
Yeah, now that you've said it, I do remember that movie. It was kind of like there was one era of, say, the 1940s, and there's another era of today. Was that correct? And
yeah, correct. So the sun is obviously in today's
Yes.
current time. And the father was actually in the 60s or 70s, I remember. Something like that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I remember that quite well now. Yeah. So today we're looking at, as BK mentioned, understanding frequencies and vibration and how it can propel your success. And this morning I was going for a walk. I went for my usual walk, and I was meditating while walking in terms of these frequencies and vibration. And when you know that you're in this zone of having the frequencies and vibrations working for you, creating, you're basically in a space whereby everything seems, I don't know, it's like, when elite athletes talk about being in the zone and everything slows down. And I got into that space again this morning, and it doesn't happen often. Of course, the more you do it, the more often it happens. But hasn't happened in the last probably 24 hours or so for myself. And this morning I was walking along, and it all happened where I remember last week, BK, we talked about how to do this in terms of being mindful and how to be in the now, and how to use smiling eyes, and how to basically put all this together so your frequency and vibration align and you're in the now. And when you're in the now, literally what happened to me was tears come down my eyes, were tearing up. I had chills, like little pins and needles going up and down my spine, and everything just seemed to slow. It was just an incredible feeling. And when you're in that space, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, just unbelievable. I'll just leave it there. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today: frequencies, vibration, and how it can propel your success. And last week, just to touch on it, for those who missed it, we looked at the rise of the network market entrepreneur and looked at managing your emotions as key. And we looked at the 4 concepts on how you can basically say if you're not doing that well, or if you want to, if you are doing exceptionally well and you want to go to another level. We looked at the 4 concepts and how you can rise from the phoenix. And we talked about the mythical bird of the phoenix. And we also talked about concept number 1. And even Aristotle made a quote that said something like, "Give me a child until he is 7 and I will show you the man." And the reason we talked about this is because understanding your emotions they were all programmed prior to the age of 7. And we've spoken about it many times before. The mistake of the intellect is the way ancient medicine describes it. And BK, one of the sessions, eloquently put it that the word mistake is a great word, because a mistake means that we can heal it, we can fix it, we can change it. And Western medicine is now, in the last 15, 20 years, through science, has now actually put this in another framework of understanding, in that if up until the age of 7, we're basically a sponge, And this is where most of our emotions come in. And we talked about the concept, if you like the color purple, for example, or your favorite color is blue, it's not your favorite color, actually. It was actually given to you due to a strong emotion that someone suggested that blue's a nice color way back when you were younger. We went through that concept. Then we went through the concept of use the analogy of the hoarder, how our memories basically are like boxes in the amygdala, and how they basically can store. And when they store too many emotions, the amygdala becomes inflamed and the hippocampus shrinks, and the amygdala gets bigger, and therefore it can create anxieties and memory losses. And this is really important to understand, and how these emotions move through the body and how we can then change what we can do. Concept number 3 was around how we can change this. And concept number 4, we went through the law of resistance, and we're still getting more and more suggestions that we should put together a law of resistance. We've got to do that, BK. We'll probably do it in the next month, I say. We'll put something together about the law of resistance. So that was what we spoke about last time, and as mentioned, this time we'll be looking at understanding frequency and vibration and how it can propel your success. And the law of vibration is one of these immutable laws, and this is the third of the 7 of the universal laws, and it basically tells us that nothing rests, everything moves, and everything vibrates. And this third and last of the immutable laws, immutable, remember, we can't change it, but we can work with it. So think of gravity as one of those laws whereby if you try to go against it, you can hurt yourself. Like if you try and step off a 10-story building, you're going to hurt yourself. However, if we use laws to work in our favor, now we can actually create maybe a plane, maybe we can do hang gliding, maybe a parachute, and we can use that gravity that is now seemingly we can't go against it, we can work with it. So that's this law of vibration. When we understand it, that nothing rests, everything moves and everything vibrates, and this, as BK used in a great example in that movie, and this is one topic that I really wanted to talk about today. And in other sessions we've talked about from quantum physics, the concept in there's 4 dimensions that we're aware of, and quantum physics is suggesting that there's many, many more. And ancient medicine has said this for a long time. And ancient medicine has also said one of the immutable laws is that the frequencies of knowledge is out there, and all we've got to do is tap into it. And quantum physics is now saying the same thing, in that they've now suggested that the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th dimensions are about the information fields. So say, for example, BK, you and I are in the 15th century, and we meditate and we are always in the now, or trying to be in the now as often as we can. And if we tap into these frequencies, if we tap into these information fields, all the information that we require on planet Earth is always there. So even in the 16th, 17th century, the information fields, if technology was up to it at that time, we could have created a cell phone, for example. The information's there. The information doesn't change. It's always there. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. These vibrationary frequencies that are out there contain all the information we need. It also, or even now, contains the information on how we can time travel. It contains information on how we can actually transfer matter in terms of any type of matter, even into gold, for example. All this is out there, but because of technology, we are unable to tap into that knowledge at this particular time. Or sorry, we might be able to tap into the knowledge, but we mightn't have anything to be able to build it. So for example, if you look back into Nostradamus and even the great painter Leonardo da Vinci basically foresaw the flight, for example, aeroplanes, etc. as well. So really important to understand that all this information is out there, And this is how we can succeed in life. In one is understanding that it's out there, having trust and faith that it's out there. Remembering this is a immutable law, which means it can't be changed. It is, and it is. You can't change it. But if we're back in the 16th and 17th century, we had the knowledge on how to build a cell phone, a mobile phone, if we were able to tap into it. But unfortunately, we didn't have the technology to be able to do it. And exactly the same as that movie that we talked about before. Like in the 1940s, we tapped into it. The movie suggested if you tapped into a frequency, you could then actually move into the future. So absolutely fantastic, these laws. And remembering these laws are thousands upon thousands of years old, and Western medicine is now proving their validity. So pretty incredible. Hey, BK. Yeah.
It is very fascinating. I mean, from a layman's perspective, if you have ever mentioned, and I'm guessing most of us would have had these kind of moments before, where you say to yourself, hey, why didn't I think of this earlier?
Yes.
Right? We have moments in time or moments in our lives when a good, amazing idea just comes to you, and then all of a sudden you kind of know this just clicks, and then this just solves whatever dilemma or problems you might be facing at this current time and space, right? And you tell yourself, why didn't I think of this earlier, right? It is a bit of what Dr. Wayne is describing now. The information is already out there. It is just waiting for you. It just happened that you may not have tapped into that information at that earlier time. And then when you did, and it came to you, and then you kind of beat yourself up and say, yeah, why did I think of this earlier? So that's just a quick example of, I think, in real life, how that happens to us, right? And of course, those of us who are listening now, and if you're kind of just getting into this topic that we are discussing here, you might think that you don't quite understand it. I just want to give you a bit of a simple framework that you may want to, it may help you to understand it a little bit easier. Or in some sense, when I share some of these topics with people and then we talk about it, right? It's like if you have a cell phone in your hand, and most of us today, we have one, right? And you know that when you are standing in this particular spot, the reception is just poor, right? It's just like down to 1 bar or 2 bars, right? And your 4G is not working as fast as you want it to be, and then you're just loading your Facebook pages or Instagram a little bit slower than you want it to be, right? But if you just move like 2 steps away, and all of a sudden your signal strength goes up to 4 bars, right? And you realize everything works perfectly, right? Now, none of us would ever stop and say that, okay, why did it happen? You're just happy that it did, right? You're just happy that you moved 2 steps away and then your signal strength went up to 4 bars. You don't question as to why moving 2 steps in that direction helped you to get that better reception. In a sense, that is what I'm trying to say here. Some of these things that we are talking about, right? If you don't quite really understand it yet, it is natural. Don't worry about it, right? But if you start doing some of the exercises and the practices that Dr. Wayne is suggesting, and that kind of improves your frequency, giving you the extra 2 bars, and that taps you into a better zone, right? And that gives you better results. And for now, just take it. I would just take it. I would just accept it, and I would just go with the flow for now. And of course, I'm pretty sure the understanding will come when it's time to come anyway.
Yes, very true, BK. And just to put this into another way of thinking about it, so think of a vibration as if you hit the table, as I just did then, that sends out a vibration, but it also sends out a frequency. So if we bring this back to the human body, so say if, we've mentioned this before, but just to go over it again, the human body frequency is when we're in great health is between 62 and 72 megahertz. If we are able to generate gratitude or love, it's usually in around about the 500 hertz, not megahertz, but hertz. And they say a really nice level for healing is around about the 528 level of hertz. But if we're thinking in shame or judgment or the negative vibrations, then it might be only in the 30 and 40 hertz. And our goal, therefore, is to try and always be in a frequency that is in the 500s or 300s, which is giving gratitude and love. And even walking along today, just to give this an example, as I mentioned earlier, as I was walking along and remembering what we're trying to do all the time is come into the now. And of course, the brain is always wanting to go somewhere else. But remembering it's a muscle, we can bring it back to the now. And as I was having these tingles and these fantastic feelings, tears rolling down my eyes, my mind went to, oh, listen, because I just came to a section out of the sort of like a mini rainforest. And I just came to a section that was literally all the cars going past. And there was a part of me that wanted to go, oh, you know, how terrible is that? I've got now car noises. I can't hear the birds as well. And then I brought it back to the now. And it was interesting what happened. I'm going, my thoughts were totally different. It says, well, isn't it fantastic that those people can be moved from A to B to so quickly? Imagine if we were back in the 16th century, how slow that whole process would have been, and what this has done to society and how it's helped us. Yes, there's negatives, but we'll get over those negatives once we collectively understand that maybe certain types of fuel aren't good for us, but we will get through that. And it was just an interesting experience on how I could have gone into judgment, but when I pulled myself back and actually felt what this particular technology had done, it allowed me to come and experience something totally different. And this is what we mean by coming into the now. And the more that, say, for example, that was a judgment vibration and might have only had a frequency of, say, 70 or 80 hertz, immediately now I change that, which is not going to generate much life-generating goodness, so to speak. But if now I can go and come back into the now and be in gratitude and really feel the positiveness of what I was just judging, now I'm up to 500 hertz. And if I can hold that at 500 hertz, I'm now actually powering my body to actually have more energy. And I'm now actually creating, if for example, 62 to 72 is the vibrationary frequency that we want for ultimate health, and for whatever reason, say I might be at 58 and I want to get higher, every time I get into those frequencies, I'm now actually generating more and more improved health. If I stay in judgment, if I stay in other negative emotions, unfortunately what happens, it depletes these frequencies. And what happens now is rather than at 62, now you might go down to 58 and then you might go down to 50 and now it's 48. And by the way, if you get below 40, science proves that this is where cancer and serious disease basically sits. And how do you get below 40 or 40 or below? We're usually in the past or we're in the future. We're worried about what's going to happen in the future, or we're really concerned about what we did in the past, and we're beating ourselves up, or we're beating ourselves up in judgment about what other people have done to us because we feel the victim. Now, I know people go through stuff. I know it's tough when you're in these frequencies of negativity. But hopefully what we're discussing here is going to help you to move out of your own yuck, so to speak, so you can actually move into the positive side of it. And even science has confirmed that everything in the universe, including everything about you, is pure energy vibrating at different frequencies. And science reveals that everything in the universe is ultimately composed of packets of energy, quantized in units, vibrating at specific frequencies. And even quantum physics then basically breaks it down from the microscope, from the smallest components, from the molecules to the atom to the neurons, the electrons, and then even quanta, which is the smallest particles measurable. And when I'm playing golf, jokingly, a lot of us will say, I didn't aim for that tree, but I just hit it. It's only about, 25 millimeters to 50 millimeters wide. and yet they say 80 to 90% of that tree is nothing but air or nothing but space. And this is what quantum physics is saying as well. But science is actually now agreeing with everything that we say. It's just incredible, really, really incredible, isn't it, BK?
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure whether, today it just happens that when Dr. Wayne shares certain things, a lot of ideas pop into my head about what is happening in the real world, right? So again, another phrase that you probably would have heard of is that I'm going to bring in my car for the tune-up.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to bring in my car for a tune-up, right? So you kind of bring in your cars for servicing and you're trying to tune your car to operate at the best operating capacity is supposed to be at anyway. I think sometimes what Dr. Wayne is just sharing with us is that we also need to give our bodies a tune-up, right? And if you want to visualize this, it's kind of like, although this is a destructive example, but it kind of brings it to a clearer, simpler understanding. I'm sure we have seen in certain movies where, they take a tuning fork, and if you can find the correct frequency when you hit the tuning fork, it actually can shatter glass because they are vibrating at such a similar frequency.
Yes.
And that it shatters glass. So of course, if that is the negative side, imagine what you can do when what Dr. Wayne is suggesting when you can set your bodies to the correct frequency for health and healing and even wealth, for example. That is kind of like giving our bodies a tune-up, right? And I think that is a fascinating idea. What I'm gradually and progressively finding is that a lot of things that we start to learn, and if you look at it open-minded enough, you kind of realize that it actually explains our physical world in a very simple way as well. If we are open to it, you say, hey, yeah, that's true. I noticed that, and this is what happened, and then it will come to. That is so fascinating. I know some of these things that we may have mentioned now might sound a bit difficult to understand, but again, like I said, if it works, whatever works wins, right? So quantum physics is a fascinating field. It is a fascinating field. I mean, if you are interested, by all means, go and pick up a book that talks about it, because it is you're gonna be amazed. You're gonna be mind blown by it. But if it is not something that is really up your alley right now, don't worry about it. It is just the way the world is, and like what Dr. Wayne was saying, right? Scientists and technology and technologists today, they are just finding more and more ways to be able to describe the world that we live in, right? In the past, they may not have the vocabulary. It's just like we may not have the vocabulary to describe a certain thing in the past, but now that we have it, we are able to describe it and better able to understand it. I'm always amazed that the Eskimos have 7 different words for the word snow, right? Because they live in an environment where they need to kind of tell another fellow Eskimo, that this is a different kind of snow, So they have 7 different words. So in their environment, they needed that. And because they have the 7 different types of words, they are much better able to describe the environment that they are in. Whereas for us, like for me, for example, I probably have 1 word for snow because I live in the tropics, right? So my ability to describe snow to an Eskimo will be different. So that's what we are doing here. The modern scientists and the modern technologists, they are finding better and better words to help us explain the world that we live in.
Yeah, very true, very true. And even Nikola Tesla, one of his famous quotes was, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And now don't quote me exactly on this, but I'm pretty sure it's protons, BK, if you can remind me. Protons basically have been found to basically go straight through, there's no such thing as time to a proton. So they can go through time and space if it doesn't exist. Which is pretty incredible. And this is where the technology of the future has to now go. It has to move out of the 4 dimensions. Yes, to understand it, as BK mentioned before, we've got to understand these things. But as we move through and we're finding more and more through quantum physics, we now have to move into other understandings. And this is the great quote by Tesla, just saying it again: if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So frequencies and vibration play very important roles in creating the structures of matter because they help organize matter, giving it appearance and uniqueness. For this reason, frequency and vibrations are essential for life to exist. This is the mysterious and amazing power of the intelligence of creation. So this is why we basically started right at the beginning, talking about understanding frequencies and vibration and how to propel your success. Because when you understand this at what we've just spoken about, and in terms of how to put it into practice, in terms of being in the now, you are now the creator. So this mysterious and amazing power of the intelligence is creation, which is just fantastic. And everything is an expression of the same thing. So just think in nature. I want you to think of, if you look at a coastline, you'll generally find that the coastline looks very similar. If you look at it from space, a coastline will look very similar to another coastline, Look at different trees. You look at a snail, you look at shrubs and different things. They have this similar form. Humans, for example, have this similar expression of itself, okay? And this is the expression of the way vibration and frequencies then come in terms of matter. Where there's probably a number of important things to go through, which I want to get to shortly, about how we can, I think I've got about nine ways that we can look at how to improve our vibrationary frequencies. And the major theme, though, is really to come back into this now, come back into this frequency, this vibrationary frequency of the now. And the more that we can do that, the more we can really change everything around us, and the more then we can succeed. And many people, I'm sure, BK, when you're talking to, as a leader to your group, and the same with myself, there's usually three challenges that people have. And some people don't have all three, but some people do, probably most people do. And one is around wealth, one is around health, and then the other is around relationships. And even ancient medicine says, it's a great quote that says, the light of the universe will not enter if the body is impure. And this is why it's really important to look after the physical body. So the light of creation, the light of your vibrationary frequency, to be able to elevate that to success in your network marketing business or in any business at all, or to be able to lift it in relation to relationships, or even with regards to health as well. The physical body is the transmitter, and we've spoken about this before as well. So think of the physical body as the transmitter, and through being able to sit still with this transmitter, thinking in unconditional love in the now, this is where we can create. And we can create incredible, incredible things as well. So see your body is a molecular structure in a high-speed vibration. So your brain is actually an electronic switching station. And what we want to do, think of it, we want it to be neutral. And when it's neutral, the brain, this electronic switching station, is not switching from the past to the future, etc. We want it in neutral, basically in the now, which is important to understand as well. So anything there, BK, before we get to the 9 ways to raise your vibration?
No, we are good. Yeah, that's. I think I think everyone is excited to know how to raise their own levels of vibration.
Okay, so and through this is, once again, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. There's nothing new in anything we're about to say. Everything we're about to say you will know, but what it's doing, hopefully, is putting it into a context where now you can actually start doing this, because knowledge is useless unless you put it into action. When you put it into action, It's incredible what it can then do. So number one is become conscious of your thoughts and be aware of where your thoughts are. And as I gave an example before, my thoughts went to judgment. When it went to judgment, my frequency would have dropped down to 50 to 100. But because I caught that thought, what I did then is I put it back into the field of the now, and that immediately, through gratitude and understanding it from a different level, allowed me then to lift the frequency possibly up to 500 to 600 hertz, for example. So number one is become conscious of your thoughts. Everything you feel, say, everything you think becomes your reality. A lot of people will then say, hey, Wayne, this law of attraction, law of vibration, these goal setting and etc. doesn't work. And then usually I'll say, well, how often are you putting this into practice? I said, oh, yeah, I say these things, I try at least for 15 minutes to sometimes half an hour a day. I said, okay, that's pretty good. At least you're giving it a go. But how many times do you think that you may be uncreating your reality during the day because you're not conscious of your thoughts? When you're conscious of your thoughts, you might be deconstructing your wealth plan or your health plan or your relationship plan by 1,000 times. Hopefully that's not so, but I just want to put this out to you that this could be possible. Number two, 9 ways to raise your vibration. Find something beautiful and appreciate it. So this is also coming back into the now. We spoke about this last time as well. Number 3, be conscious of the food you eat. This is now looking after the physical body. Drink filtered water, meditate daily, be grateful. We've talked about the feeling of being grateful and how that raises your frequency. Practice acts of kindness. Get your blood pumping. Use hot and cold showers. Exercise. Nitric oxide exercise. If you're unsure what that is, just type it into YouTube, for example. Get your body to start exercising. And we've always said, and ancient medicine, interesting, has always said, if you want to really have fantastic health, never miss a sunrise. So these are the 9 ways that you can raise your vibration. And remembering our goal in raising our vibration is to, by understanding these frequencies and these vibrations, we can propel our success into other levels that possibly were not known before.
Oh, that's an awesome list, Doc. I mean, it's a simple list. Some are easy to do, some are not so easy to do. But I'm thinking, of some of the things we have talked about before, and something that Einstein actually mentioned as well. Always give yourself the power of compounding. So it might start off as you don't really notice the difference, but as you do it consistently over time, the benefits will compound. And I mean, all the 9 things that Dr. Wei has mentioned here, some are actually pretty easy to do from the get-go. Get going on that, and then as you build on each of them and you allow the law of compounding to take effect, you will start to reap the benefits. Perhaps for myself, I think the most challenging one has been the first way,
one,
which is to be conscious. I have no idea. I know if you're not conscious of it, your mind really runs away from you. But lately, I find that has been, I'm better able to catch myself. And I think that's also allowing myself the law of compounding to come in. Yes. But the good news is this. Another book that I'm listening to as well, it talks about Neville Goddard, right? It talks about the fact that when you, a positive emotion, a positive thought is actually a lot more powerful than a negative thought. Yeah. So you might have, what Doc is talking about, you may be deconstructing your positive things you want with negative things, but as long as you allow time and compounding to take effect, even the half an hour a day that you are meditating and thinking about good stuff, that will, in the long term or in due time, bring you the results you want, because it will override the negative things that you are doing. But you just have to be patient sometimes. With all things in life, sometimes we kind of expect instantaneous results. It can happen. Now, know that it can happen, right?
Definitely.
Yeah,
And
it can happen
that's,
instantaneously
yes.
once you are tapped into it. But what we are saying here is that also be kind to yourself. Some of these new ways, you may need a bit of time to get used to it as well, right?
Yeah, and just to finish off on that, but BK, and this is really what we're talking about. And I was talking to this as an example to someone yesterday, actually, that because we're used to time and space, or the fourth dimension, if we want to go from A to B, say, for example, if we want to go from your town to another town, there's time involved. And that's the way that our conscious brain thinks. The same as if we are where we are now as a network marketer, maybe just starting out, or you might be doing well and you're earning, say, for example, 10,000 a month, and you're doing pretty well, but you've got this ceiling that you can't get through. And if we use time and space, the fourth dimension, as an understanding, we can then say, well, this is going to take me another 2 or 3 years to get on top of this, or to get to the next level. And it's, however, when you understand what we've just gone through in terms of frequencies and vibration, and tapping into the information fields, there is no such thing as time and space. So something that once upon a time that through thought, we may say that it's going to take us a year, you can now, as you mentioned before, because of what we're doing, compound this. So now it's only going to take us 2 months. For example, I've seen people who have a goal of, say, 18 months, and because of understanding this and doing what we've compressed it into 6 months, or some people 3 months. I've seen some people go from totally broke, not having any money, and I've actually seen checks for over $100 million that they're now depositing in their bank account, and that's after only a year of understanding this. So the world is your oyster when you really get this. And just to put what BK said there into another way of understanding, our gene blueprint, the gene blueprint in your body can make over 3,000 different versions of a protein from the same blueprint depending upon the way we respond to life. So if we are having happy thoughts, the ones that we've talked about in terms of gratitude and unconditional love and non-judgment, etc., serotonin is made. So we want to look at this from a medical perspective. All the happy hormones are made like serotonin, and this will give rise to happy thoughts. But if there's negative thoughts and unhappy thoughts, less serotonin and less hormones more hormones in the negative way are being made, and this will express themselves negatively as well. But if we can put everything that we've put together, and even what I've talked about this morning, even in my reality, that somehow, and the beautiful part about this, you don't know what's going to happen, that somehow has shifted my reality in a way that I will find out in the future, because I've created something and I'm looking forward to what it's created. So don't think that we have to wait for our normal four-dimensional time for something to occur. It can happen faster than what you ever thought possible once you understand and put these things into action.
Awesome. So that nicely wraps up another episode of Candid Conversations about network marketing. Remember, our goal is to bring value to the community, and we certainly hope that some of these things that we are talking about can help you propel your business to a much higher level. And remember, again, if you do want the show notes, because nowadays we have produced show notes and some of these tips that Dr. Wayne and the 9 ways are mentioned inside, do check us out at networkmarketerpodcast.com. If you're watching a video replay, you will be able to see the words over here. So but those of you who are listening, I'll say that again. It is at networkmarketerpodcast.com. Just ask us for the show notes and we'll provide them to you. And of course, some of the topics we're talking about, the law of resistance, vibrational frequencies, and even meditation, we do have a more concise and more fleshed out program at 5hiddenreasons.com. Again, you can see the words here, 5hiddenreasons.com. That's the numerical number 5hiddenreasons.com on why most network marketers fail and why you do not have to. So, Dr. Wayne, thank you again for an amazing sharing. We learned so much all the time from you. And just going to take us out with a little bit of music, right?
Thanks, BK. Thanks, everyone.